Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A quick reminder of our stories. Again, police burst another illegal correctional center in the Rigasa area of Kaduna State, free 147 inmates. Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishaki, restates the military's commitment to ensuring Nigeria's security against insurgents and other criminal elements. Residents sacked from their homes following a massive flooding of Lagos border communities as Ogun River overflows its banks. And UK members of Parliament back an amendment aimed at preventing a no-deal Brexit as Prime Minister Boris Johnson vows to ensure the country exits the EU by October the 31st. For more information on our top stories and others, please visit our website at channelstv.com. YouTube.com/channelsweb has videos of our shows. The Senate and House of Representatives have begun receiving government ministers and heads of parastatals for the budget defense sessions. This is after President Muhammadu Buhari banned all ministers and members of his cabinet from overseas travel to enable them defend their budgets at the National Assembly. Correspondent Linda Akibe, however, reports that curiously, budget defense sessions, which have been largely held in the open in previous assemblies, are now being held behind closed doors.
Pockets of people in the corridors of the National Assembly. They stand at the entrances of hearing rooms, waiting for their principals to finish with defending their 2020 budgets before relevant Senate committees, an annual ritual in the National Assembly. But a pattern has been observed during the ongoing defense of the 2020 budgets. Some of the committees are holding part of the budget defense behind closed doors. On Wednesday and Thursday, October 16 and 17, the committees on Power, Public Accounts, Defence and Primary Health all held parts of their budget defence proceedings with MDAs behind closed doors.
The first would excuse us for a few minutes. We do an executive session.
This is not a regular parliamentary practice seen in previous assemblies. With the exception of the Committees on Defence or Army, which handles national security issues, most budget defences are held in the open. Although the Senate standing rules does not explicitly state the procedure for budget defense, a public analyst tells Channels Television that this recent practice is inappropriate.
This is unacceptable. This is undemocratic. Because what signal are we sending to the international community and are we sending to citizens in general? Are we saying that we are lawmakers or deal makers? Because you cannot have a closed-door session and not send a bad signal. This would also set in distrust.
But the Senate spokesman thinks it's much ado about nothing.
The budget was prepared without the press being there. This budget that the president came to read was prepared in volumes without the press being there. Were you there? But then it was brought to the public at the end. So when a budget defense is being conducted, it can be done behind closed doors. But whatever has been done, the press needs to be briefed, and that's it. And I think that is fair enough.
On October 8th, President Buhari submitted a 10.3 trillion naira 2020 budget to a joint session of the National Assembly. Both Parliament and President Buhari are on the same page in seeing that the 2020 budget is passed by the end of 2019, returning Nigeria to a one-year budget cycle. However, analysts warn against sacrificing thoroughness in scrutinizing the budget on the altar of quick passage.
Either the Senate President or Speaker saying that budget defense must be concluded by the end of this month. I don't think that is sufficient time for them to consider, unless they're doing the rubber stamp business, to consider the iterative process of going back and forward between them and MDAs. You raise issues or questions, they go back to bring justification or reasons that inform their making this proposal in the first place. So I doubt if it can be concluded in just 2 weeks. So yes, we need to quicken things up, but we shouldn't throw away that rigor of ensuring that everything is interrogated until we come to the best for our country.
The President and the National Assembly have repeatedly promised that a quick passage of a 2020 budget is a key goal they intend to meet. But beyond a prompt passage, of greater importance is the execution of the budget to improve the lives of Nigerians. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
Let's turn our attention to the judiciary. Following the recent calls by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad, for more funding of the judiciary, a senior advocate of Nigeria, Yemi Candid Johnson, is making a case for more accountability on the part of heads of judges. In an interview with our judiciary correspondent, Shola Shoele, the senior advocate says that there's a huge responsibility placed on the heads of courts to demonstrate how funds already appropriated for the judicial services has been expended.
The bigger question for the public is how money appropriated for judicial services across the board, especially the administration of courts, is applied and operated by the heads of courts. Now, I think this is an area that is particularly opaque, and I think it's an area in which a huge responsibility to account should be placed on incumbent heads of courts. The way the money is spent across various judiciaries differs. Some judiciaries spend money on cars, and some people spend money on foreign travel, and some people spend on filing systems and technology. The purpose for appropriating judicial budget is to improve the administration of justice. If the public cannot see the value for money, then the justification for financial autonomy or increasing the allocation to judiciary is not made out.
Moving on to other stories now, internally displaced persons in Abuja want the federal government to provide them with security and space for farming in order to improve their living standards. There are over 3,000 internally displaced persons in Abuja. They include women and children who fled the Boko Haram onslaught in the northeast. These population is scattered around several informal camps in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja.
Life in an internally displaced persons camp can be truly hard. Like several other IDPs across the country, dozens of women and young children at the Durumi camp in Abuja are in no way finding life easy. This camp played host to a few families who fled the Boko Haram attacks in the northeast in 2014. 5 years after, that population has more than tripled, forcing the IDPs to seek additional help from the government.
No place like home. So as far our place is not yet ready for we to go back, I think our need presently, at least we have about 33,000 displaced persons in Abuja. We have 18 camps in Abuja. I think our prayer for government to look for part of Nasarawa here, at least to locate a temporary shelter and build schools, security, give us health centers. I think because out of 100% from Northeast, 85% would depend on farming. We do not depend on government or other things, you understand? We depend on farming. So, personally, we need government to provide personal temporary shelter in Nasarawa, give us home and where to farm. That's, I think, we need nothing from the government. If that can be done, I think we need nothing from the government.
The visit of the National Commissioner for Refugees and Internally Displaced Persons to the camp gives the IDPs some hope. He takes a brief tour of the camp. He is, however, very economical with words when journalists ask about his plans for these people.
What are your plans for them? Government is trying very hard, and soon, inshallah, they'll all be out of here.
According to the camp officials, there are over 30,000 IDPs living in 18 informal camps in Abuja. Majority of these people look forward to the time when they will return to their ancestral homes.
The Edo State government has clarified the cost involved in the construction of the Uwelu East-West catchment of the Benin City Stormwater Project, which is part of this Master City's Water Master Plan. The state government is insisting that the project has not failed, neither has it been abandoned. The project coordinator of the Edo Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management, Mr. Tom Obasaki, said that the explanation following the recent outcry by the leadership of Edo State People's Democratic Party has now been explained to details.
The Benin City Stormwater Master Plan has the Uwelu East and West catchments as one of the 23 catchment areas as divided under it prior to recent expansions and development. The Uwelu West Catchment Project is a 7.4 kilometer span of V-drain running from Adola College Road through the Awotubu Power Line all the way to Ogba River. At intervals on street junctions and intersections, there are box culverts connecting each V-drain section. As a primary drain, there are inlets to allow water from secondary drains into the box culverts, some of which have been backfilled. The Uwelu East Catchment, Catchment 3, is 5.45 kilometers of box culverts on some streets, including Igbinadua off Siloko Road in the state capital. Work on the project meant to tackle flooding in the Edo state capital commenced in 2011. But early in October 2019, the chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP Edo State, raised an alarm about the perceived abandonment of the project, questioning the costs as well.
It is the duty of government to carry out projects that will be in the best interest of the people. Well, here we are, a project that they informed the state will cost about 30 billion. They are now talking about 150 billion to complete this project. They have also come out to say it will take another 30 years for them to be able to complete this project. At a time, none of them probably will be alive to answer for the failure of this project.
A day after this outcry, Channels television crew visited the site of the project. While the contractors were seen busy at work, some of the residents of the area point out their observations coupled with appeals.
At the initial stage, it was helping us, but now it is worse.
The drainage is quite good. It's floating very well. All the old houses living at this side, they have no road to enter. And the erosion is cutting the side of the road.
The contractor handling the projects denies allegations of abandonment.
As you can see, our staff is here. The catchment 1, as we say, is 95% done. Hopefully 150 to 200 meters of feed drain remain. Catchment 3, which is a box culvert, which is a 5.45 kilometer box culvert with the V-drain, with the drains and the asphalt. It's almost 33% done. And hopefully, it depends on the cash flow, we can finish the job.
The firm also explains that there are plans to repair a section of the V-drain water undermined before a connecting culvert was constructed. The state government responds to the allegations, clarifying issues around the amount expended on the project.
The controversial 30 billion is just for the Uwelu East and Uwelu West. We have today the current government working on Gapiona. Gapiona is a whole catchment. We also have the current government continuing with the stormwater master plan, working on the Ogiso area, which covers the Murtala Mohammed catchment. The government is already working on the design now for Igwosa catchment. There's also a design for a part of Ikpobahi catchment. So the whole thing is a continuous thing. So it's not an end, but rather it means that it's a continuous process.
A top environmentalist highlights the importance of implementing such plans, listing other factors that must be considered for people's safety as well.
It's one thing to have a plan. If you don't implement it, it's of no use. And in fact, we can't just look at our rivers or the moat system as drainage channels. So whenever you build a drain, you empty it into a river. But we're drinking the same water from that river. Many people are living downstream. They're fishing, they're drinking with all the pollutants coming from the city. And that is not fair. So even when you construct the drainage channels, you need also to treat the effluent treat the sewage before they're emptied into the river.
Apart from the government's role in dealing with flooding, individuals have also been advised to plant trees, reduce the creation of hard surfaces, and the single use of plastic items as their contribution to flood and erosion control. Jessica Olubuse, Channels Television News.
When the news at 10 returns, the International Monetary Fund promises stronger collaboration with Africa's economies as IMF World Bank meetings in Washington, ends tomorrow. That's some business news. Join us again.